I just got back from AACon, from American Atheist Convention. It was actually a really good time. I have not really done the whole conference circuit thing up until fairly recently, but I went to, I went to the SSA convention, I think back in July. Met a lot of really cool people. I met Kevin Boyle and Ryan Bell and just a bunch of really awesome people. I got to go to FFRF Con in California. That was really cool too. Although it was a really young audience at FFRF. I really like what FFRF is doing a lot. I really respect the organization a lot. But I have some qualms. And here's my issue, okay? This has been a problem across a lot of conventions. And AACon is not an exception to this, although they appear to be getting a lot better. Here's my problem with FFRF specifically. They exclude YouTubers from everything. They don't get them involved at all. They don't want anything to do with them, really. They get podcasters in. They don't invite YouTubers. They don't want YouTubers involved. And it's kind of strange. I don't understand why, because at FFRF, most of the people were older. They were like 70 plus years old. And that is not a sustainable business model. Getting all of your donations and your support and everything from a an older generation, that is not a sustainable business model. You have to bring in younger people to keep your organization going. Now, like I said, I respect what FFRF does so much. They send lawyers around the country to deal with legal cases in which religious people overstep grossly. So if somebody uses state funds, if a senator or something uses state money or federal money to put up religious symbols, FFRF goes around and sues them. They can't use my tax dollars to do that. It's against the law. Separation of church and state. So that's what FFRF does. They focus heavily on that. But like I said, their user base or their member base is very, very old. So I show up there with a couple of other YouTubers, Genetically Modified Skeptic and Holy Kool-Aid. We go there and we have our finger on the pulse of the YouTube community. We are the bridge between the YouTube community and the Freedom from Religion Foundation. We can help them grow. We can help them build their stuff and bring in younger people. We can advise them on social media. We can shout them out. There's a lot that we could do for their organization. And what do? They ignored us. They completely ignored us. They wouldn't even talk to us. The leadership would not even talk to us. They talked to us just as like regular people, just as regular attendees. Weren't interested in any kind of help that maybe we could offer them or anything. And I'm not even asking for like a payment or anything. Personally, I just want to help this organization. I just want to build the movement and make their organization grow. That was my only goal behind it. And they just kind of tossed us aside. It was disappointing because they do a lot of good work, and it's work that I don't do. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to do that stuff. We need this organization, and we need it to grow, but they aren't accepting help when it's offered to them, and it's so incredibly disappointing to me. Well, AACon, American Atheists, historically, they've kind of been that way too. You know, last year at this time, I was at 30,000 subscribers or somewhere in there. That's still pretty big. That's not tiny. That's not miniature. I'm at 125,000 now, almost. But I could have still done some work for them, for any of these conferences. I could have helped them. I knew what I was doing last year at this time with YouTube. I knew how to work the algorithm and things. I know about social media marketing. And I still did have an audience, a decent-sized audience. But none of these conferences were really into it last year. And that's what disappointed me so much. But this year, they've actually, very recently, American Atheists have apparently, like, kind of changed out their entire leadership. Like, they've got a new president, they got a new vice president, Debbie Goddard, really, really nice lady. She is the shit. I love Debbie to death. But, you know, they've changed out, like, a lot of leadership recently. And as a result, they invited me, they gave me a press pass to go to American Atheist Convention 2019. And so that's where I've been for the past, like, 4 days. I went there on Wednesday, just got back today. So I figured I'd tell you guys a little bit about it. It was just absolutely fantastic. It was a fantastic convention. Honestly, I didn't know any of the speakers, not a single one. I think I knew Anthony Magnabosco. He's a pretty cool guy. He talks about street epistemology and stuff a lot. But I think it was like a workshop. He had a workshop. It wasn't even like a speaking event. I knew Phil Ferguson. He also had a speaking event. And I knew the guys from Talk Heathen and The Atheist Experience, because those are kind of YouTube things, / podcasts. But that's about it. I didn't know any of the other speakers. And that reflects an issue that you find a lot in kind of the conference circuit, is exclusion of YouTube faces. There are a lot of big YouTube people who could help and bring in a younger crowd, and that's exactly what they're reaching for. Now, American Atheists, this is their first year dipping their toes in. I understand why they didn't have a speaker from YouTube or something, but they gave us press passes. That's a big deal. That's a big step in the right direction. I'm real happy with that step. They gave us a table where we could sell merchandise and meet fans and all that other stuff, and it was just awesome. But, you know, so here's the bottom line. Here's my assessment. Here's how I feel about American Atheists. I believe in this organization too, and I honestly would feel the same about them as I do FFRF, where, you know, they're kind of ignoring us and, you know, not bringing us in. They're just trying to get what they can out of us. I'd feel the same way about them as I do FFRF if it weren't for the fact that they invited us there this time and talked to us. The vice president sat in our room and chatted with us all night. She is just the shit. Debbie is awesome. She was like sleep deprived because she'd been running the conference and she was just exhausted. But she sat in there and she just chatted with us all night long. And she did not have to do that. So I'm just like, I'm really honestly happy with American Atheists and the direction that they appear to be going. I know like a lot of conferences and a lot of like nonprofits like that have been running on magazine subscriptions for like decades and decades. That's how they survive. That's how they bring money in, magazine subscriptions and donations. And that model is just dying. That's the bottom line. It's a dying model. You're not going to be able to keep the magazine subscription business going for much longer. So you're going to have to find another way to bring money in. Now, like I said, Debbie seems to be totally on top of things. She knows what she's doing, or at least she knows what she needs to do, and she knows how to get there. I think she's aware that she needs to start working on social media presence, but They have a Facebook page of like 330,000 followers or something like that. And they aren't really utilizing it properly. They have I don't think they even have like a YouTube channel. They might have a YouTube channel. They aren't really utilizing it properly. But that's what the future is going to be. That's what people are doing right now, is YouTube, Facebook, social media in general. And that's where FFRF and American Atheists and others are going to have to move if they're going to survive. And like I said, I so deeply want to see them survive. So that's my assessment of it on a business level, on a corporate level, if you will. On a personal level, I just had an awesome time. I met a lot of fans there. I sold a lot of merchandise, but honestly, I was really only there to meet fans. I think I only brought 3 stickers with me that I could sell, because my primary concern was meeting people and, networking and getting to know fans and things like that. And I did do some of that. It was really awesome. I also got to hang out with Holy Kool-Aid and Genetically Modified Skeptic all weekend. That was a lot of fun too, hanging out with them. Played a lot of Smash Bros for the Switch. I actually have some pictures that could probably put up. I put them up on Twitter, but we went out to eat and we got to meet Matt Dillahunty. Matt Dillahunty's pretty awesome. He's an awesome dude. Also met Aaron Ra and Seth Andrews and some others. Honestly, I've never met or talked to Matt Dillahunty before this trip, but he's a really good guy too. We went to Skyline Chili and he did these magic tricks for us. I sat right across from him and he had these rubber bands and was doing all these magic tricks. It was a lot of fun. I still he gave me one of the rubber bands and I still have it around my wrist. But, for those of you who may not know who Matt Dillahunty is, he is, let me just pull up his YouTube channel real quick. He was originally on the Atheist Experience. In fact, he's still on the Atheist Experience. And that's kind of his claim to fame. The Atheist Experience is like a live call-in show that was on public access TV for decades. Until fairly recently, I think just a few years ago, they got kicked off of the public access show. And now they're exclusively online. I think it's exclusively YouTube. I could be wrong there. But they do public access. I'm sorry, they do call-in stuff. And he is kind of a jerk sometimes. Not a big fan of that, but he's been pretty rude to some people. I really don't like that at all, but he knows his stuff when it comes to logic and rationality and reasoning and debating. Really, really good at that stuff. His personal channel has 114,000 subscribers. I don't think he posts there very often. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it looks like reasonably often, I guess he does. But he's got a lot to say. He's a really fascinating guy. And he's very, very knowledgeable. I learned everything I know about logic and things like that from the Atheist Experience. So that's where I started to learn about it. Was from the Atheist Experience, the show on YouTube. Of course, that's not a representation of how well known he is, because he's actually way better known than I am. But I'm glad that I'm kind of in the same ballpark as Matt Dillahunty. That's kind of nice to know. But anyway, yeah, all things considered, AACon was just a really good time. It was just a really awesome trip. I really loved it. I loved hanging out with Debbie Goddard. I loved hanging out with Matt Dillahunty. I mean, it was just a fantastic time. So that's all I really wanted to say about it. I'm thinking about doing a full-blown video on American Atheists, their history and where they are now and all of it. because it's actually a really, really interesting story. In fact, I'll give you guys a little information on it now. The person who started American Atheists, let me just find out here. Her name was Madeleine Murray O'Hair, and I couldn't be wrong here. I'm pretty sure that she was famously murdered. She started American Atheists, and then I think she was murdered in like 1996. And they made like a movie about it. Apparently the movie wasn't super top notch, but anyways, it was still really, really fascinating story. She died September 29th, 1995 in San Antonio, Texas. This is the organization that was run by David Silverman, and David Silverman doesn't have a super great reputation right now, but they've got new leadership, so it's something to think about. If you guys want to check them out, then you can check them out. I really loved their conference. I think they did a really great job with it, and they're moving in the right direction, so it is something to think about.